Would someone like to make a motion to return the regular board meeting to public session? Mr. Lemay, second. Mr. Schmidt, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried unanimously. I would like to call the regular board meeting to order. All board members are present. I would like to ask, please, Mr. Schubert, could you please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Mr. Schubert.
Thank you.
Please be advised that in the event of a fire emergency and an evacuation should be necessary, an alarm will sound. Please note all marked emergency exits and evacuate well away from the building. At this time, we request that everyone turn their cell phones or other electronic devices to silence. Please and thank you. Would someone like to make a motion to add an addendum to the personnel consent agenda and approve the agenda as amended? Mrs. Beeger. A second, please. Dr. Lucido. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried unanimously. Board recognition. Dr. Marsloff, please.
Thank you, Mrs. Vasquez. Earlier this year, Mill Middle's Future City team won the regional Future City competition with their futuristic design called Paradiseville. This group of 7th graders traveled to Washington, D.C. in February to compete at the national level and earned a special award for their innovative urban plan. As a school community, we are incredibly proud of what these young students accomplished and how they conducted themselves on a national stage as ambassadors for Williamsville schools. We are joined tonight by the students, many of their parents, their team advisor, Mr. Randy Gamero, and Mill Principal Mike Calandra, who will tell us more about this impressive journey and introduce us to the students. Mr. Calandra?
Thank you, Dr. Marsloff. Good evening, dear Board of Education members and Dr. Marsloff. First of all, thank you very much for providing our team the opportunity to be recognized tonight for their wonderful accomplishment. The outpouring of support that our team received through various donations from so many sources is a true testament to the support the Williamsville community provides. I know that Mr. Gamero will be acknowledging that tonight. I have the distinct privilege to speak about our Future City competition team under the guidance of Mr. Gamero. Our team of 7th graders competed at the regional level and won first place to earn the right to compete in a national and actually an international, because there were teams from Japan and China, in Washington, D.C., as Dr. Marsloff mentioned during the February break. Future City is a project-based learning program where students compete at the levels of 6th, 7th, and 8th grade and to design, research, and build cities of the future. These students demonstrated a tremendous amount of perseverance, problem solving, and dedication in school and many hours outside of school to prepare for this competition. We as a school are extremely proud of their accomplishments. At this time, I will turn it over to Mr. Gamero and our team to provide you more information about their experience. Thank you.
Good evening. First, I'd like to thank the many people and groups who helped us raise the funds needed for our trip to Washington. We had less than a month to raise thousands of dollars, and the Williamsville community stepped up and provided the support we needed to make this amazing experience happen. So thank you to Dr. Marsloff, President Vasquez, and the Board of Education, Mr. Calandra, the Williamsville Education Foundation, the Williamsville and Mill Middle PTSAs, the faculty and staff of Forest, Maple West, and Mill Middle, Praxair, and countless, over 100 individual donations on our GoFundMe page from the community, parents, friends, and former students. Future City teaches my students the importance of working together to achieve common goals. And our community demonstrated that by helping us to achieve our goal of going to nationals. One of our team members, Andrew Cohen, would like to tell you a little bit more about the team's experience.
Hello, my name is Andrew Cohen. Hello, my name is Andrew Cohen. I want to thank everyone here and the community as a whole for supporting us and helping us get the opportunity to travel to Washington, D.C. for the National Future City competition. Future City taught us teamwork, time management, and engineering skills. At the competition, we met people from all around the world, including China and Egypt. We presented our city to judges and fellow Future City competitors. Future City is a unique, one-of-a-kind learning experience. We are all grateful to have been able to work on this project during the school day through the Gifted and Talented program at Mill. Thank you for supporting us.
I want to know their names too. Tony. How cute they are. Mr. Calandra, can I ask you to introduce the seventh grade students that were involved in this? Sure. Thank you.
Taryn Reese, Owen Dunzak, Caroline Peter,
Caroline Peter, Lorenzo Price, Ryan King, Andrew Cohen, and Grant Bowden. Good move, Patty.
No, thank you.
Are you really? Oh, really? Which one is he? Yeah. I was gonna say. Awesome. That's awesome.
You have one of these?
Last time.
I can.
Thank you.
Oh, really? That's cool.
Every student athlete dreams of winning a state title and understands the amount of work, dedication, time, and sacrifice it takes to reach that level of competition. In March, Section 6 girls gymnastics team dominated the state finals, and 3 Williamsville student athletes returned home as New York State title holders, winning the balance beam and vault competitions as well as the all-around state title. I would like to congratulate our outstanding gymnasts and introduce South High's athletic director, Kevin Lester, who is joined by Coach Stumpf to tell us more about this incredible achievement. Mr. Lester?
Thank you, Dr. Marsloff. First of all, I'd like to thank the Board of Education for honoring these fine young athletes this evening. I'd also like to thank all the athletes and congratulate them for their accomplishments this year. Before we introduce the young ladies, I would just like to say a few words about Kurt Stumpf, Williamsville South coach, who also coaches Section 6 gymnastics. Kurt has been with South since 1982. He's had 13 undefeated seasons, 14 division championships, 11 sectional championships. Since 1979, he has been the head coach for Section 6, and he has won 5 New York State team championships, and he has been the head coach for New York State High School National Championships 3 times. He has also won 2 national team championships for New York State. At this time, I'd like to introduce Kurt Stumpf, who's going to talk about Gabby Gare and the other young ladies who had won state championships.
Hello, my name is Kurt Stumpf. I'm the coach at Williamsville South, obviously, as you know. I'd like to introduce Gabby Gare. Gabby is a sophomore at Williamsville South. She's been on our team for 4 years, and she's been a letter winner every year. She's been a big part of our back-to-back New York State Championships, which was last year and this year. This year at the State Championships, which were in Cold Springs Harbor, Long Island, she placed 7th all around. She was 6th on floor, 2nd on bars, and she was the state champion on vault with a 9.7. That's Gabby Gare. Thank you.
State champions are indeed rare. There are schools that in New York State that never win any state championships. We are so lucky and so proud to have the kids that we have. I would now like to introduce our 2 state champions, Madison Pentatrante. Please come up here. Madison, how many years have you been doing gymnastics? I don't think there's a tougher sport. And your state title was in the balance beam. Yeah. Thank you so much. Zoe, please come up here. Zoe Karakropoulos. Zoe was on crutches this morning when I saw her, so it's a testament to how difficult this sport is. You think the hockey guys are tough? She's much tougher than them. Zoe won all around gymnastics championship, and she had a state record in her floor routine, floor exercise. It was 9.85. Wow. That is a state record. By the way, they're both 10th graders, and they're both high honor students.
Nice.
Awesome.
All the tall gymnasts next to me. Finally, Williamsville is once again home to the New York State Division I boys hockey champions. Described by a sports writer as the Cardiac Kid Spartans, North won the championship by 1 goal over Section 5 champion Pittsford on March 12th. We congratulate the North varsity hockey team on another state title. North High principal Gary Colicchio is here, along with some of the players and longtime coach Bob Rosen. Mr. Colicchio?
Thank you, and welcome back. at the beginning of the season, North Hockey was not in anyone's conversation for making a run at the state championship. But nobody told the kids that. They worked harder, they got better, they played everybody that they could play, that they thought that they were ranked. And they gained confidence. As they went into the state playoffs, they were the Cardiac Kids. There was a regional game that was a one-goal game. There was a sectional game that was a one-goal game. There was a state playoffs that was a one-goal game. And the championship was a one-goal game. I got the last few gray hairs that were took over the black there. 2 of those games were overtime goals. And we've had a long-time coach who seems to find a way to win with everybody that comes under his tutelage. And he is a great inspiration to all of our sports teams, and I would like to now introduce Mr. Bob Rosen.
Thank you very much for honoring us tonight. As a graduate of Williamsville North a few years back, I'm proud to be part of the program. What Gary does and Steve Ferenzi and the support that we get from the school and from the all of Williamsville district, it's very proud to say I'm part of this and part of what our section does in ice hockey. We have a few of the players. I'd like to bring them up. Also our athletic director, Mr. Ferenzi. Steve, you're going to come up. My longtime assistant, John Burns. And then you guys, why don't you come up? Andrew Mosier, one of our senior captains, is going to talk a little bit about the year. Daniel. Andrew was his brother. He graduated a couple of years.
Yeah, that's happened many times. I'd just like to thank you guys for having us here and a little bit on our season. I mean, what can you say? We're state champions. Everything from going to West Johnny in a hostile environment to winning the whole thing here in Buffalo, and just a great experience. And thank you and everyone here for your support along the way.
Thank you.
I'm going to have each of the players introduce themselves. We might as well start with the MVP of the state tournament.
Yep. I'm Andrew Bruno, and I just have to agree with Mr. Colicchio. At the start of the season, I just thought we weren't going to make it there. But the boys came into practice, worked hard, and we did it.
I'm Tyler Durfee. Thank you for having us today. Eric Catella. Thank you. Alex Jones. Thank you.
Russ Sardina. Thank you.
Sally Natali. Thank you for having us.
Josh Serwick. Sorry I'm a little underdressed for this. Run over from baseball, but it's a great season. Good way to go out on top. Thank you.
I'm Jake Surratt. Thank you for having us.
Sliding in.
Oh, don't worry about it.
The picture. I don't know.
Yeah, make sure it's the picture.
Keep your elbows in there.
Thank you.
Nice job, guys.
Thanks for the snow day.
Anytime. What miss free throws do for you?
The parent, oh my god.
Comes next. It might be a few years waiting then.
Okay, thank you very much, everyone. Mrs. Beeger, would you please read the board's public expression statement?
Can I do a board acknowledgement?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Are there any board acknowledgements?
I've got one.
Yes.
I'd like to acknowledge Mr. Charles Milnich. He is the principal of Dodge Elementary and also a contributing author to the new book, Confronting Oppressive Assessments. I was able to attend a book signing on Saturday at Barnes & Noble's, and I was really excited to listen to all of the authors, and it's like the who's who of education from Western New York. And Mr. Smilnich helped to co-author a chapter called Principles with Principles, the dilemma of implementing destructive policies. Destructive policies. And I didn't get a chance to read the whole book, but I did read that chapter. And in that chapter, he compares the absurdity of the New York State teacher evaluation system to what it would be like to apply APPR to the NFL. And specifically, he uses the example of the Seattle Seahawks. So if you get an opportunity, I encourage everyone to support this effort. It talks very much about the challenges that we are facing in education right now. These are dark times for public education. And I want to acknowledge Mr. Smilnich for going out there and taking the risk to say what needs to be said and for speaking the truth on behalf of our children. So thank you very much.
I would just like to invite Mr. Smilnich up to the podium to say a few words and maybe provide us with a brief synopsis of how the Seattle Seahawks compare to public school teachers in New York State. I'd like to learn more about that. If he doesn't mind, do you mind coming forward, Mr. Smilnich? Yes.
I believe there's a cliffhanger. You'll have to purchase the book to find the ending.
Yeah, exactly.
It's actually not. It's past tense now. So we wrote that book 2 years ago and it finally came out. But basically what it did is when the Seattle Seahawks hired Pete Carroll, it was about 7 years ago. I'm trying to backdate now. And basically what happened is Seattle Seahawks were, I think, 5-11. I don't know their years. But the first couple of years, he didn't make the playoffs, Pete Carroll, but he did improve his record each year, so therefore he would have been effective in comparison to the APPR. However, the year that he won the Super Bowl, they were 13-3, they won the Super Bowl, and they blew out the Denver Broncos, so therefore he would have received a 4, he would have been highly effective. I'm sorry, I forget the rating scales. He was highly effective. However, the following year, you have to remember, he was 13-3, he won the Super Bowl 41-7, I believe, or 41-8. The next year, he was 12-4 and lost to the New England Patriots by 4 points. So therefore, he would have been developing because actually he did worse than the previous year with the same players, everything being the same. The next year was the year for the prediction. He would have had to improve his 12-4 record and lose the Super Bowl by less than 3 points or win the Super Bowl to receive an effective score. However, the outcome was, I don't even think they made the playoffs that year, and he got about a $40 million contract extension. And that was our prediction, knowing that he wouldn't do it because it's virtually impossible to run an APPR system in the real world. And that's kind of the gist of it. I believe that's how it's done. I haven't read it in a while since I wrote it, so I apologize. But that's kind of the gist of it. He would have been fired after a year, and then his years got progressively worse. So actually, he would have been ineffective for like 4 straight years. So according to the old state law, which is in the process of the moratorium right now, he would have actually been fired. But he actually got a $40 million extension. This is a different world we live in.
Thank you, Mr. Smilnich.
Thank you. Are there any other board acknowledgements? No? Okay, I'm sorry. Now, Mrs. Beer, please, would you read the public expression statement?
Sure, thank you. Welcome to all who have come to observe this regular board meeting. Per Policy 1510, the board has set aside 30 minutes for public expression, a time when we invite members of the community to share ideas and concerns with us. We welcome this opportunity to hear from you. Each person is given up to 3 minutes in which to address the board. You will be signaled with a yellow flag at 2.5 minutes so that you can conclude your remarks. This is a meeting held in public rather than a public meeting, which means we will not be engaging in dialogue with members of the community this evening. Rest assured, we are listening carefully and we take seriously what you have to say. I would also like to add that you demonstrate respect for us one another by speaking to the issues, giving us ideas, sharing opinions, but not engaging in personal attack. Thank you for your cooperation. Our speaker on the list tonight is Mark Feinberg. Mark Feinberg?
Yeah, hi, how are you?
Hi, good, thank you.
Good. Thanks for having me, Dr. Martzloff. I am a 1985 Williamsville North graduate, and we did not have hockey at that point, so it's, and I know Bobby Rosen real well, so it's good to see him here. I'm here as a parent. I have 3 kids in the school system. I'm here as a taxpayer. I'm here as a physician. I'm the team doctor for the Bills and the Sabres, and I have been heading up a program called the A-Team program for the past several years. And what it is, it's basically I'm an advocate for athletic training. I've had a lot of relationships with athletic trainers over the years. And we've developed a program, and what our program does is it basically teaches and educates athletic trainers. I'm also chief of sports medicine at UB, so we do a lot of educating, and we oversee a large sports medicine outreach program. And this A-Team program is basically how we educate and how we manage the trainers going forward. And why I am here tonight is because for many years, you know, as a Williamsville parent, I've wanted to extend our services to the community, and especially the Williamsville schools where my kids are present. And over the years, we've essentially been denied that because no RFP has been sent out. And then I've been approached by the athletic directors asking several times if we could provide that service, and then the contract is now up, is my understanding. And I've been, again, told that there will be no RFP. So what I am here to do is just request simply that we have an opportunity to share with whoever is in a position to make a decision what services that we have. And just to give you an idea, over the years I've developed very strong relationships with ECMC and CLIDA, and they provide matching grants for schools who want to upgrade from a part-time, because we know that budgets are strapped. Even though we have millions of dollars to spend on turf fields and other facilities, we have part-time athletic trainers who are not as good at caring for our kids as full-time trainers, because we know full-time trainers get to know the kids, can identify concussions and other serious things that it takes to know the kids. And in addition to that, it's my understanding that there's going to be a need for extended hours, and we're essentially offering for no additional cost $225,000 over a 3-year period of grants in order to upgrade from part-time to a full-time trainer, which will effectively double the hours. And I've been told that we're not going to be doing an RFP, and I felt it was basically my civil duty to come and let you know that these grants are being passed over for a reason that I'm not particularly aware of. And all we are asking is for an RFP to be sent out so that we have an opportunity to just share what it is that we have to offer. And that's pretty much where we're at. And I represent a group of 35 orthopedic surgeons at the university. And what we do is not only do we do surgery, but we educate the community. And what our program does is we take $25,000 and give it to each school to match the $25,000 that they have, so they can get a full-time athletic trainer that is dedicated to your school, full-time hours. And we institute ACL prevention programs, so someone's kid will probably not get an ACL because we're able to provide this program. And in addition to that, we are backed up by the concussion clinic that we have at UB, which is world-renowned. And I can go on for a very long time about our services, and I just want to thank you all for allowing me to share with you those thoughts.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks.
you.
You got
Thank
it.
you. Do we have any other speakers this evening? Okay.
Thank you. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda and addendum as presented? Mrs. Leatherbarrow, is there a second? Mr. Lemay? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried unanimously. Okay, I would like to take this opportunity to thank the following retirees for their service to the district. And please forgive me beforehand if I mispronounce your name. I'm going to do my very best here. Ann Brucia from Forest, occupational therapist in the district for 19 years. Suzanne Burke, reading specialist at Dodge for 19 years of service. Nancy Cook, a technology integrator, 25 years of service at Casey Middle. Brad Persurio, an art teacher at North High School, 31 years of service. Mary Carol Deering, social worker from Country Parkway for 30 years of service. Teresa Fisher, Maple East elementary teacher for 30 years of service. Carrie Frank, special education from South, 36 years of service. Maria Freitag, elementary teacher at Forest for 31 years of service. Kim Marie Friedgen, special education teacher, Maple East for 25 years of service. Mary Gage, East mathematics teacher for 23 years of service. Michelle Jerovac, Heim Elementary Speech and Hearing for 42 years of service. Maureen Hart, elementary teacher from Dodge for 33 years of service. John Kreider from East, an English teacher for 26 years of service. Kevin Lester, South Physical Education for 46 years of service. Jeffrey Librock, East business teacher for 38 years of service. Tracy Macon, special education teacher from Transit for 38 years of service. Arlene Massel, a LOT teacher from East for 41 years of service. Paula McGarr, elementary teacher from Maple West for 28 years of service. Diane Miller from Country Parkway, elementary teacher for 25 years of service. Bonnie Moser, elementary teacher from Country Parkway for 25 years of service. Michael Parker, high and middle science teacher for 46 years of service. Janine Potts, elementary teacher from Country Parkway, 32 years of service. Elizabeth Preset, elementary teacher from Forest for 27 years of service. Beverly Reed, from the AIM program, a mathematics teacher for 39 years of service. Louis Rowe, elementary teacher from Mill for 26 years of service. Jerome Scarcelli, a health teacher from South for 32 years of service. Sheridan Sheridan S., elementary teacher from Maple Leafs for 25 years of service. Barbara Skotsky, science teacher from North for 33 years of service. Dawn Marie Southard, a LOT teacher for 32 years of service from North. Marie Swartzwelder, a LOT teacher for 37 years of service from North. Paula Taranova, elementary teacher from Forest for 25 years of service. And Terry Walden from Transit Middle, physical education for 24 years of service. Thank you very much. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the regular board meeting and budget work session held on March 7, 2017? Mr. Schubert, is there a second? Mr. Schmidt. Are there any corrections or additions to the minutes? Anyone? No? Okay. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Dr. Lucy?
Yep.
Motion carried 8-0-1, one abstention. Would someone like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the board budget work session and public forum meeting held on March 21st, 2017? Mr. Lemay, second. Mr. Schubert? Are there any corrections to the minutes? None. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried unanimously. Does anyone have anything to report under Erie County Association of School Boards? No. Okay, NISBA. Mrs. Van Cise is unable to attend the Rethinking Student Discipline Policy Workshop tomorrow. However, Dr. Sierri will be attending, and we hope she will share what she learns with us at our next board meeting. Thank you, Dr. Sierri. Yes.
Could I possibly request a copy of whatever materials are handed? I really was hoping to go to that workshop and I can't, so I'd love to see what they provide. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you.
Mrs. Serafin will get the information to you.
Beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate it very much.
Does anyone have anything to report under NISPA? No? Thank you. The Erie One BOCES annual meeting will be held on Wednesday, April 12, 2017 at 7 p.m. Erie One BOCES E1B Education Campus, located at 355 Harlem Road in West Seneca, 14224. Erie One BOCES will present its tentative administrative capital and program budgets for 2017-18 to the members of the Boards of Education of the 19 component school districts for their review at their annual meeting. There will also be a Meet the Candidates opportunity. Is anyone able to represent the Williamsville Board at their meeting? No? Okay. A letter was sent to the board candidates inviting them to attend this meeting, and both candidates were unable to attend. However, Judith Katz, a previous board member from Williamsville, has agreed to attend our June board meeting. Okay. Mrs. Serafin, would you please like to give us an update on board candidates, please?
Yes, at this time we have 4 valid petitions received. If the people are in the audience, you could stand. Susan D. McClary, who is a retired Sweet Home teacher and currently the assistant for Dr. Weinstein for the town of Amherst. Liam T. O'Mahony, and he moved into the district in 1979 when he attended Maple East. He's a graduate of Cornell, and he has returned to Western New York in 2012 and is a member of the Amherst Recreation Commission and Toastmasters. Julie Al-Gubani, who is a paralegal for Legal Aid Bureau of Buffalo, and she has 2 children in the school district. Kurt R. Venator, who is a veterinarian who specializes in small animal nutrition and veterinary medicine for Purina. And he graduated from Maple East, Heim Middle, and East High Schools. And his spouse is Kristen Campbell. And he has 3 boys in the school district.
Thank you, Mrs. Serafin. Good luck to the candidates. Board visitations. Mrs. Beeger, Mr. LeMay, Dr. Lucido, Mr. Schubert, and I visited North Elementary School on March the 10th, 2017, and participated in the National School Breakfast Week by being guest servers for the breakfast. It was an awesome event, by the way. The board will visit Heim Elementary School on Friday, April 7th, 2017 at 7:30 a.m. Mr. LeMay, Mrs. Beeger, and I are scheduled to attend. Are there any other board members able to attend on Friday? No. Okay. The board will visit Maple East Elementary School on Friday, April 21st, 2017 at 7:30 a.m. Mr. LeMay, Mrs. Beeger, Mrs. Leatherville, and I are scheduled to attend. Are there any other board members able to attend on the 21st? No. Okay. Community Forum. The next Community Forum will be held on Saturday, April 29th, 2017, 9 a.m. to noon at North High School. Mr. LeMay has graciously been serving as the chairman of this Community Forum. Would anyone else like to take a turn by chairing the next forum? I guess it's, Mrs. Leatherville?
I'll take a turn unless Mr. LeMay wants to keep his post there.
I don't mind either way.
I'm glad to take a turn.
Okay, thank you. Superintendent's report. Dr. Marshloff, would you like to give your community update?
Thank you again, Mrs. Vasquez. Very quickly this evening, as you know, New York State testing began last week for ELA in grades 3 through 8, and it looks like our percentage of students refusing the test has decreased. However, we won't know final numbers on that until later tomorrow, once we finish the makeup period and are able to tabulate those. We've also had with our Superintendent's Inter-High Advisory Council a number of discussions around the topic of diversity, and we are looking into the possibility of preparing for a diversity workshop as early as next year during the school year for our Inter-High Advisory Council, so some exciting news there. And then lastly, I want to thank the entire board and in particular Mrs. Serafin for all of your participation and work in our board retreat. I think it was a very positive and healthy discussion for everyone on the board, and thank you for taking part and giving up even more of your time on a Saturday. And that's all I have for this evening's community report.
Thank you, Dr. Marsloff.
You're welcome.
Would someone like to take the 2017-18 school calendar from the table with a motion for a second reading and adoption? Mr. Lemay, is there a second? Beer? Any discussion? All right. You will note that there is a revised cover sheet in front of you, changing the elementary school parent conference day from November 3rd to November 20th, 2017. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried unanimously. Would someone like to move the second reading and adoption of the 2017-18 school calendar?
Cal, just did.
Sorry?
You just did.
No,
No.
that was this.
Would someone like to, are you doing that, Mr. Lemay?
I'll second it then.
Okay. Second, Mr. Schubert. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried unanimously. Update on the status district technology implementation. Dr. Marsloff, would you like to give an update, please?
Thank you again, Mrs. Vasquez. This evening, we're going to be sharing some information with the board and the community on the status of our technology integration efforts that have taken place in the recent past, as well as what our plans are for the future, so that the board and the community is aware this report is going to be based less on hardware and infrastructure and more on the instructional uses for technology. You will see some references to our hardware and things some shifts we're making in what we are purchasing and that sort of thing, but we wanted to mostly focus on instruction because there was a number of questions from board members over the past 6 to 9 months of this important topic area. So I'm going to ask Dr. Balin, Mr. Matursky, and Dr. Sierri, along with Mr. Ferentz, who is our lead technology integrator, to share some more information about our technology program at this time. So, Mr. Matursky, I'll turn it over to you.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Marsloff. I'm here to begin the presentation. What I'm going to do is to provide a brief review of what the technology plan as a status update. Prior to that, I just want to introduce our team. As you know, Dr. Sierri, Dr. Balin, and Mr. Farron. We also have on our team Mr. Mark Claudel and Ms. Deb Radis. So with that, let me move forward to the presentation. And we want to begin by reviewing the vision that we have for our technology plan, which is that we're committed to encouraging and facilitating the use of technology in ways that support student learning and achievement, and also improve the efficiency of district operations and encourage communication among all stakeholders within the entire community. So what we want to then move on to here is to discuss the past, present, and future of our program. So to begin with, we did our New York State Survey and District Technology Plan last year, and so this current year is the year we're working on the implementation part, which has included both hardware and infrastructure changes, mobile device roadmap, which you're going to be seeing a little bit later what that means. We also have completed a parent, student, and teacher survey feedback, which we'll be sharing with you. Also some instructional experiences that students do. And then we're going to follow up with the future, which is our research and development on items that include computer-based testing, transition to high school on the devices, and our future planning. So on the next piece, it's New York State Technology Survey status. And on this, again, as I mentioned, we submitted it in 2016. There's no submission required in 2017. Our next survey will be done in 2018, and that will be the first year of the 3-year plan. As you can see here, the current technology plan status is that it expires on June 30th, 2018. So the following year, July 1st, 18 through June 30th, 2021 would be the next plan year, the 3-year plan. So we will be working on putting together this plan in the next school year. So on the present, I wanted to go a little bit over what we're doing in regard to our software programs, and we're transitioning the district to a Windows 10 environment from Windows 7. The district office has pretty much been completed, and we're also moving to Office 2016. So over the next few months, we will be moving everyone in the district to the Windows 10 platform. Having said that, I wanted to give everyone a brief picture of what we have right now in regarding our operating system. So we have about 37.9% of the Windows, we have 36.1% of Chrome, and 26% of Apple. And when we look to the future, what we're doing next year, you're going to see how these percentages are changing. We're going to about 58.3% for Chrome, 33.4% for Windows, and it comes down to 8.3% for Apple. And you'll see how that and why that's transitioning in a moment. So I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Baer.
All right, so we're going to take a look at the mobile device roadmap. Currently where we're at, if we look at the K-12 spectrum, where we have iPad carts is really currently K-2. We have a hybrid method at grades 3 and 4 to transition them to Chrome this year, but next, you'll see next year we'll take those away. And really after that, we have our middle school program where all kids in the middle school are assigned a device. It's currently grades 6 through 8. Our Chromebook, grade 5, is currently an iPad this year. And our high school environment is strictly Chrome, with the exception of computer labs and libraries that run Windows devices, but we have a mixture there. The way it looks visually is this. If you're a visual learner, that's where we currently are right there. And if we transition to next year, that's what that looks like. All right, so right now we transition them in. Middle school looks like that now. As we move to next year, we're going to replace our iPads with Chrome on our refresh cycle. As the kids enter into 5th grade, that Chromebook will carry through them all the way through middle school. So they'll be assigned the same Chromebook. Our high school is a little bit different. What we have is we have a mixture of general sign-out carts, which would be just like taking to a computer lab, but they're really on a cart that teachers can sign out, spread geographically across the buildings, because our high schools are large. So we geographically put them in hallways or places where teachers can get to them easily, sign them out through the resource calendar. We also started a one-to-one cart program, which means a teacher is assigned a cart, which essentially makes that classroom, the 125, 150 kids they see throughout the day, really are situated in a one-to-one environment. It is an application process that those teachers went through. They were selected and vetted over the summer as a committee. What that looks like next year is we're looking to roll in another 5 teachers at each high school into that. And once again, those teachers are assigned, the classroom is assigned a cart of 30 Chromebooks. As a side note, all devices that we're issuing electronically do have accessibility options. There's a variety of accessibility options on the iPad and on the Chromebook, which allow text enlargement, zooming, contrast, speech to text, text to speech, screen readers. There's a variety of things that are on there. They're all in the Invest settings. Not only do the students have access to the settings to adapt and change those, we do have trained professionals in there that do also maximize the accessibility options on each one of the devices for the kids that meet their specific needs if requested. And along with all that expansion and that growth over last year, this year, and next year, we do encourage, obviously, mobile learning PD. We have a very robust professional development catalog. We do things on a district level. We're very fortunate here in the district, but what I'm referring to is just specifically what my team does as technology integrators. What we've started over the last couple of years are weekly sessions, coaching sessions that are offered at the middle school for lesson redesign, lesson coaching, instructional technology infusion inside the lessons. We offer those on a weekly basis. Pretty much as you look at the calendar for our middle school teachers, they are after school. This year we started them at the high school where we rotate each high school, we rotate each middle school. So supposedly if you're at Mill, once a month there is a session at your building, but there is one once a week at each one of the middle schools. We do that at the high school as well. Elementary is a little bit different. We could only do just those elementary teachers at that school. And that schedule's been published through the year and our teachers sign out for them. In addition, we do assign devices to our teachers. For a teacher to be eligible to have a device assigned to them, a school-issued device, we do have what we call an MDLP program, which is our mobile device learning program. What it is a 2-year plan that teachers apply for. If they are accepted into the program, it is a personalized learning plan, which means they commit to the learning. They tell us what they want to do. And really where this comes about is it's inescapable now. It's done during their planning time during the day. Too many people have commitments before school and after school, which makes training difficult sometimes for my team. This provides the training during the day. And it is a evidence log based training where they keep track of the learning. With those awardees, you can see on there that we have a wide spread between elementary, middle school, and high school. All right. And I'll turn it over to Anna for the mobile learning results.
I have the pleasure of sharing with you the survey results. Please bear in mind this is only a highlight of the 3 surveys that were administered. We actually literally could do a full presentation on the 3 surveys. So we're just sharing a few pieces of information with you with regard to the student, the staff, and the parent survey. As you can see from the first slide, 651 students responded to the 5-6 student survey, and that's about 40% of that population, that 5th, 6th grade, that was distributed to students in June of 2016. And likewise, the 7th, 8th grade survey was administered in June 2016. You'll note there that it says HEIM 8 because that was the only middle school at that time that had 8th graders that could also respond to the survey. So it's all of the 7th grades at the 4 middle schools, 1 8th grade. If you take a look at some of the responses we received from the students and regarding their device, 78% of the students used their iPad for learning in school every day, and 72% responded to use of their iPad at home. And on the other side, where you see the blue highlights, that's students in the 7th and 8th grade with regard to their Chromebooks. So you can see the high use for their students. And some of the student reflections in our questions indicated that 88% indicated they agreed that the device helped them create work that they were proud of. 88% also indicated that it increased their motivation and engagement. 93% indicated they had improved flexibility for learning. 86% felt that it helped them to receive and provide immediate feedback. 78% agreed that it helped them to access their knowledge. 91% agreed or indicated that it provided a tool for modeling, gave them increased learning opportunities. How confident do you feel using the device in the classroom? 95% of the students felt confident using the iPad, and you can see on the flip side it's the students with the Chromebook. Digital citizenship when using the device, 96% of the students indicated that they usually demonstrate digital citizenship. 97% of the upper grades indicated the same. Teacher survey results, you'll see that our teachers indicated that 83% of them that responded, and you see that the response was about 24 teachers, 5, 6, at the 5th, 6th grade level. 83% of them indicated that they feel confident using the device as an instructional tool in the classroom. And here are some of the comments and the challenges that our students and our teachers, our staff reported with regard to the use of tools. So 38% of the students and 13% of the teachers indicated that websites were frequently blocked or not loading. 29% of the students and 25% of the teachers reported problems with Williamsville Wi-Fi, and we're going to talk about that later in the presentation. About 12% of the students and 13% of the teachers reported that apps or sites were freezing or crashing. About 9% of the students indicated forgetting to charge their device. And you'll note 58% of the teachers indicated that was a concern with regard to the students. 7% of the students indicated that they forgot their device at home. And about 45% of the teachers indicated students left their devices at home. And then the bottom refers to Wi-Fi outside of the district and some challenges there. And in terms of the parent survey results, we received 533 responses. Represents 17% of the 17% of the parents of students in our district at the middle school level. It was distributed in March 2017, so just recently. 87% of the students or the parents that responded felt comfortable assisting their child with the device. The majority of parents agreed with the following statements, either strongly or agreed. They felt their children were more efficient or effective. They felt the device increased their child's motivation or engagement. They felt the device increased opportunities for their child to learn. And they felt the device increased their child's communication with his or her teachers. In terms of some of the reflections, I won't read them all to you. You'll notice the different percentages in terms of digital citizenship. The very bottom one expressed, 22% expressed their concern that their child had some difficulties or they had some concerns with the device. And you might wonder, what does that reflect? Some of the top responses regarding the concerns were just the amount of time that students were using technology in general. That was one of the top concerns expressed. Another was some concerns with regard to organizational difficulties. Another, just the responsibility for the device itself. And the last one that I would share is concern regarding access to social media sites. And here are some of the parent concerns or suggestions, and we're going to address some of these as we move further along in the presentation. There were some concerns expressed about their children moving from the middle level to the high school level and what that would look like for their children in the transition, the move away from a one-to-one platform to accessing different tools and mobile devices at the high school level. Some concerns regarding, again, access to internet or gaming sites, and you can also see some of the positives that were shared. To Dr. Balin.
Quickly, with computer-based testing, as you can see with the New York State Alternative Assessment, we're actually, although this is part of the future section, the implementation of a computer-based testing system has already started in this arena with ELA math. Science is to be introduced during the 2017-18 school year. In terms of the New York State operational ELA and math test for grades 3 through 8, implementation actually began this year across the state on a voluntary basis, and field testing began in 2016. This occurred in a very limited fashion in some locations. At that point, what's been reported is 800 schools and 60,000 students participated in the field tests. New York State has articulated a goal or timeline that during the school year of 2019-20, that the test will be fully available on computers and implemented as appropriate. Some of the key questions that arise when looking at this kind of delivery system for testing include technology readiness, what key experiences students, staff, and community need to be provided to be prepared for this forum, and certainly the scoring of the tests themselves is something that has to be discussed. We will be engaging in further conversation with our district stakeholders to address these questions and plan next steps accordingly. One of the key questions that arises when it comes to technology is certainly a transition from the middle to the high school level. And in particular for our students who have been part of the one-to-one initiative across our middle schools. One of the things that we have communicated and really stressed is that at the high school level, the intent there is to further develop the foundation that they have developed at the middle level, which includes a pretty extensive repertoire when it comes to technology literacy and creation skills. What we would like to do is really prepare students not just for the high school level, but for life beyond high school and what that will hold. What that requires of learners, whether they're at high school or beyond, is being able to have access to multiple devices or tools. It's not device specific, and really the ability to navigate multiple tools and platforms, both digitally and non-digitally. What we have begun and have done for many years and really enhanced this as of late is communication and an enhanced understanding with our community. We have engaged in conversations with parents and really taken their input and feedback to heart. We have talked with our building leaders at the middle and high school level and our district staff to really build what we believe and we hope to be a smooth transition from the middle to the high school, and any feedback that we received is really looked at and acknowledged accordingly. We have a continued commitment to making sure at the high schools, and we can see from our earlier slides the increased availability of various devices, to improving availability and access for students and teachers, and being able to access these devices and tools from really anywhere at the high school, whether it's through the classrooms themselves, the libraries, and the labs. There are various ways that this is implemented, which are here in the presentation for you. These include general Chromebook carts, the one-to-one initiative that Mr. Ferens referenced earlier that some of our high school teachers are a part of with the carts themselves. We have libraries which are signing out devices for students that students are using during their time in that media center. And certainly continuing to embrace and encourage personal devices that students will bring to school. Currently, our policy allows for that use of those devices under the direction of the teacher. And one of the very important things for us, as always, is access for all students in our learning environment. What we'd like to do during the next segment of the presentation, and I'm going to invite Mr. Ferens to come up and share some things as well with all of you. And really, this is just a very brief snapshot of the highlights that we have collected. Actually, we've been doing so for a number of years. The various ways that our students are engaging in the many, many things available to them. Honestly, we could probably do an entire presentation just on the implementation itself and the great things that our kids are doing. Hopefully this helps to highlight some of them for you. Certainly not all inclusive, but some really great work both teachers and staff and as well as students are doing. So under the literacy umbrella, reading and writing processes, you see several different things on the screen. Our students participate in global speed chatting, and they use Storyboard to share their story. They create videos about themselves and they post them to a Padlet. In addition, many students access a variety of literature digitally and interact with the text, and some of those images there on the screen help to support some of those things. One of the really engaging and creative ways our students are interacting with technology is through the use of interactive science labs. This is across K through 12, so you notice there are grade levels mentioned purposefully. Students are engaging in center-based units. They're using the Google Suite for Education, which was previously known as GAFE, and they are actually engaging in and pressing upon, if you actually could do this digitally yourself, some of those icons on the screen, if students were to select that and click on it or select the particular box, would actually take them into an interactive unit plan where they would be able to individually interact with each component on the screen. So it's a very engaging model that they're involved in. You also see the use of some of our probes and some of the information they are able to collect. They do a lot of analysis of data. They do a lot of collaboration with other students and peers, and there's certainly a lot of, in terms of reports and lab work, things that are done using a digital format. One of our very favorite things to showcase are the many opportunities for global connections. Some of these include opportunities for virtual field trips to a number of destinations. They're guided through many sites, and they gather information and perspectives. They share with one another. There, again, is opportunity for them to talk with peers, to talk with professionals in the field, to talk with docents from a museum, for example, and then they also use the information that they gather to create brochures and other materials that demonstrate their understanding. And I'm going to ask Mr. Ferens to...
Sure. I'll wrap up with note making, not to be confused with note taking. Note making is actually generating your own interactive notes through our Google Suite for Education. From hyperlinks to interactive images to videos, you pretty much take the content, you make it to self-explanatory for yourself, and that has been a big shift over the last several years of what we've seen with students. Obviously, assigned a device, and even without a device, this stuff is accessible in the cloud from anywhere. So it doesn't matter if you have your device or not. I can bring up everything on my phone and I can work right from there. So never not excuse not to study. Creativity and discovery is another huge umbrella that we'd like to talk about. We've really seen definitely a big, huge gain and push in makerspaces. If you've read any articles in the education area, this is a really, really push of doing, creating. We live in a generation of a lot of consumers, so the big shift and movement is to get kids to create. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's digital or not, but digital tools are readily accessible. They're usually free, so there's not consumables involved, and it's easy to create. So digital creativity and discovery, seeing what's out there, but just don't consume, create, curate, and go from there. It's the Internet of Things that these kids are involved in. So there's a lot out there, but we definitely want to push the creation and the creativity aspect of it. If you're ever bored, we offer many professional development courses on creativity digitally. So I just got done with one a couple hours ago, so it's good. So as we move forward, really the last that we have here is areas for further implementation. If we kind of take a look at one of the areas, the need to upgrade our internet content filtering software. It is a filter. It is software, and it grows as we do. So there's a lot out there, and so looking at a different ability to upgrade our internet content filtering software would definitely be something we want to look at. Taking a look at the cyber security threats. So we want to counter that. Obviously, it exists out there. We hear about it all the time. So through education first, and obviously through infrastructure. There's things we can purchase and buy that would make us more secure. You've probably heard about Mr. Matursky's presentations before about Smart Bond. Our Smart Bond funding coming from the state is definitely looking to expand our Wi-Fi access. We had a Wi-Fi access plan before that we've reached, so the Smart Bond will take us over the next couple of years. Will project us as far as we can get with that. We're really looking to basically build capacity with Wi-Fi. We'll continue to do that as we go through the years. And lastly, we really need to have a strong commitment and continue that strong commitment we have to professional development, especially with regards to technology. As we have that commitment, we just need to make sure we need to continue that. Questions? If any.
Mr. LeMay. Remember, Sean, 3. 3.
Thank you, guys. That was an excellent presentation. I appreciate the thoroughness of that, and especially answering some of my potential questions without me even asking them. Couple things that come to mind here. During the presentation here, you mentioned that the year 2 of implementation of the New York State mandatory testing. Is that being phased in other words, in the sense that they're going to be allowed to take a paper test or an electronic test, or how is that going to be coming about?
Well, currently, there is a 5-year timeline that the state has produced, and actually I verbatim quoted what they had in there because they said computer-based testing as appropriate. So your question is actually one that many of us have, is exactly when it comes to pass, just how mandatory will it be? I don't believe they had quite the response rate to participate in the field tests and the operational tests that they would have liked. So I don't know how much that will impact the true timeline. My sense is that due to sheer ability to have mass testing going on in a computer-based format, more thought is going to have to be given to the timeline and how feasible it actually is for districts, because if it means all districts, it means all districts, to actually do that in a fashion that would allow for that. So I firmly believe there'll be adjustments made along the way. But just what those will be, I think, is still unknown to us. So right now, what the timeline suggests is that 1920 will be where all of the computer tests will be available and administered as appropriate. So it's the as appropriate part that we're certainly questioning at this point.
So is it safe to say at this point we're not implementing electronic
We have
testing?
not implemented any of the
With no plans?
computer-based tests. One of the things that in terms of the operational 3 through 8, NISA, as we showed, we've already implemented NISA ELA and math with science on the horizon for 17-18. One of the things we do have to be thinking about is, as we mentioned earlier, is what experiences do we need to present to staff and students to at least familiarize our community with what those opportunities look like, because the last thing any of us, I think, would want is when the actual opportunity presents itself that it's the first time you're interacting with it. So those are the conversations I alluded to earlier. So while we may not know just how definitively the timeline will be held to, we do have to have some planning steps that speak to some of those preparations.
Okay. My other questions actually come from the January 28th Community Forum. I purposely held off on these until this presentation. Some of the parents' concerns, and I'm going to kind of just read these off, the ones that I just quickly summarized that I was grabbing from your presentation, and hopefully you can address them, or they are being addressed. I think some of these you are already addressing, so don't feel that you have to rehash them. But there were definitely some concerns about using technologies just for the knack of using technology. Suggestions were made that we need to make sure that we're supplementing or improving the educational process. The biggest one that was a time, and I have to agree on this, and I'm hoping maybe you can actually answer this, was a time management question. With the introduction of electronic devices, we've gone from giving our elementary and middle school students paper scheduling means to do it on paper to an electronic format. And where the concerns came in is, and I've never used this app, so I know nothing about it, but there's a homework app that I guess does scheduling and that sort of stuff. But the concerns that came from it were twofold. One, that not all teachers use this, and this becomes confusing for parents and students trying to keep track of what and where and how to do it. So we need a unified approach to that. But then the larger concern was what happens when we go from the middle school to the high school process where they lose that one-to-one device, but we've taught them use the homework app for all your scheduling and task management needs. I realize we're going to go to CARTS and we're hoping to do BYOD to to the high school. Please elaborate on that. And then the last concern was security, which I did see as a future contention there, and that's definitely something we're always worried about.
Sure. The My Homework app is just one of many tools that the kids use for organization. So really, the My Homework app serves as, you can say, a substitution for an agenda mate. But we have plenty of kids that choose their own method for organization. We provide the My Homework app. We do allow students to use paper. It's not a forced thing by any means. What naturally happens when you go off into the high school environment, teachers have their own way. We do not require or force any way, or would we, on the best way for a teacher to communicate with the parents or the teacher to communicate with the students. They are completely allowed to use paper. Kids use paper. Some kids have agenda mates. You'll find it probably very ironic that definitely even my own child will use paper from time to time, and because that's what makes her learn best. So she will use a paper agenda mate, or actually a piece of paper she prints out, and she writes on it. So every student uses their own method, I think, to organize themselves, and that is what would experience when they get to high school, and definitely when they leave high school. They have to find their own method. So we're trying to provide experiences to tools, not force or require anything, because I wouldn't know if something would happen to that app or that system that goes down. It's more of the process they have to go through. They're still writing things down. I think you have an impression everything is pushed to the My Homework app. Kids can actually just type and write right into it, and teachers can push to it. So even if a teacher is not using it, a kid can still use it individually. and it's completely free. So if they do go out after that, it's myhomeworkapp.com, or it's a free app they download on their phone. We have plenty of high school kids that use that app even without being in the one-to-one program.
I guess the concern here was that we used to do the schedule mate or the agenda mate, and we used to teach this, to maybe fourth grade, I'm guessing, I'm being told here. Then we go into the middle school and I don't want to say we abandon it, but I'm guessing we somewhat abandon it and start promoting the homework app. And then we go into the high school. And so I guess my question here and the concern of that is because we're educating our kids how to schedule and how to be academic scholars in the sense of time management and all of that, we need to make sure that we're staying on a platform, whether it's the schedule mate and then supplementing it with a homework app, or introducing the homework app and making sure we are unified across the board, because these are the years that these kids are scatterbrains. They don't remember things.
If I get rid of the agenda mate and I get rid of the paper, I get rid of the app, the functional concept is still writing down the homework that is due, correct? So all we're doing is providing a method for the child to write it down. So in elementary school, we're providing a paper agenda mate, but that's no different than a subject notebook that the kid could pick up and write it down.
Right.
Same thing with my homework. They simply touch the plus sign and they can type in their assignment. So functionally writing things down, whatever app system the kid decides to use, it's about delivering the homework to the kid, telling them what is due, and giving them a system or a place to write it down. And I'm not sure providing something different is all that confusing to the students, because ultimately they are writing it down. I think what you're maybe alluding to is that there's various methods that when a child comes home that one teacher might use one way, one teacher might use another way, but that's what they're choosing best to demonstrate to the kids. But I think it's still functionally the same. They're still writing things down. Then there's no different than the agenda mate. But if you're like my daughter and used to leave her agenda mate all the time in elementary school, and you have to drive back and go get it, you no longer have to do that. Just one aspect, but I think it's the same.
The only thing I would add to that as well is organization is comprised of much more than recording assignments. We also have to work with our students to learn to time manage, to break larger projects and tasks into smaller, more manageable units. Those are all things that our teachers do on a regular basis as they're working with the students throughout the day. The high school students have actually shared in one of the forums and some of the conversations that have been had is that they really don't anticipate or contemplate a one-to-one, because they understand what is going to be expected of them as they exit the high school arena and move on to college. And in fact, some of our students who at the middle school level responded to the survey indicated, the 7th and 8th graders, well actually it was mostly the 7th graders at the time, but indicated that they feel comfortable using Google Drive on another device. So they're feeling comfortable kind of navigating back and forth between different types of devices. And that's a good thing. We want to see that kind of flexibility in responding. Some of our students at the high school level on occasion will take screenshots of their assignments. So what we're trying to cultivate in our children is the ability to respond to multiple types of expectations, settings, demands, because that's what they're going to experience when they exit our school community. And so as Dr. Balin responded earlier on, how important it is for us to take feedback. We have met with parents and have had some feedback from them, and we know that we have to make sure that we communicate in some capacity how we're planning for and preparing for the transition of their children from middle school to high school, because that is one of the major concerns we heard through our parents' survey. Hope that helps.
Yes, Mrs. Leatherwell.
Thank you very much for this report. I just wanted to comment on a few things regarding the 3 through 8 New York State assessments on computers. I want people to know that there have been some mishaps already this year. There were a small number of districts that tried it across the state, but on Long Island, there were a group of at least 60 students that when their test popped up, it was the wrong grade level, and it wasn't figured out immediately. So obviously that causes some problems. And it was interesting doing scoring. Many of us that are educators have been doing scoring this week. And one of the main questions from teachers was, why are some of the guidance documents typed? And I had to tell them, well, that's because there are a few districts across the state that chose to use the computer-based assessments. The other piece regarding when the technology lags or when the Wi-Fi is down. I know that this is one of my number one pet peeves as an educator. And I've talked to my own children about this, and they do say that it is a problem. And we know as educators that every minute of instruction counts. And so it's difficult sometimes. You become so reliant on the technology that you often then forget to have a plan B for when it's going to go down. And it's happened multiple times to me, and I'm sure, I know it's happening in our district as well at both middle school and high school levels. Right now I have a child at each level, so I'm able to sort of see the wide gamut. And my fourth grader is doing what Sean said. She's having to record her homework, and they're actually teaching it as an organizational process, to the point where she has to initial it, the teacher initials it, I initial it. As they get to middle school, they are starting to learn to self-regulate. And even though it's frustrating sometimes for us as parents, it really is beneficial for the children. When I went room to room during open house at both middle school and high school, one of the things I didn't like is the fact, well, at first I didn't like that some teachers were using WITS to post everything. Others were using Google Classroom. And for me as a parent, I felt like, oh, this is making my job harder to stay on top of my child. However, in the long run, it's really not about the parent, it's about the children. And the students are not seeming to have any problems accessing. In fact, I'm very impressed with my 8th grader especially, because he's not, the highest student, but he's figuring it out. And I think you are providing a lot of opportunities for them to explore and grow these skills, so that by the time they get to the high school, they really do have a strong toolbox that they can use. And I think that's it. The thing about too much instructional time or too much time on technology, it's not going away. I had a long conversation last night with my husband about this, because when do you start taking it away, but at the same time preparing them for the future? Because if I'm taking it away from her when she's in 11th grade, 12th grade, 2 years she'll be in college and she'll be sleeping with it under her pillow again anyways. So we do have to wean them and teach them to self-regulate, but it is still a concern. It is still a concern that they have it morning, noon, and night and at school. Thank you very much.
Just a brief comment regarding the Wi-Fi. We do monitor it daily, and right now our current access points don't allow us to provide additional controls over devices, because what we are finding is that normally the reason why the Wi-Fi is having issues is because of personal devices, and we can see them and how they actually logjam the network.
Mhm.
But the new access points will provide different software that can be put in place, and it will allow us to better control that. So we are thinking that once the Smart Bonds Act comes through, once we do the implementation, we will hopefully eliminate that problem.
And that's so true, because Kahoot is one of the big items now. I know they're loving it, and my daughter tells me, yeah, Mom, we take out our phones for Kahoot, and then it all goes down. So, and that happens in my classroom as well, so I do understand.
Yes, Mr. Mecca.
Hi, just wondering if the move away from a one-to-one device at the high school level, is that more of a choice or a compromise?
It's if in our plan, when we wrote our technology plan, 3 years ago, that was, I guess, planned. So if you say choice, it was planned. So I think feasibility or sustainability of trying to do one-to-one at all grade levels, all at the same time would, it's going to take time, but.
So then, oh, go ahead, sorry.
I think it was a combination. As Lee indicated, some of that is feasibility, but it really was a planned initiative on our part, because again, we wanted to prepare the students for the world that they're going to experience beyond high school, and the ability to use different devices for their learning and to access information via the internet and in various ways.
Okay, so then follow up, is there a plan to eventually go one-to-one at the high school, or that's not even anything we're thinking of at the moment? Nothing. Okay.
I would think by the time that these guys are in high school, they've probably already mastered their own device or have figured out what device works for them. And then they carry that through. I know we started an initiative at school where all the students, we do all of our testing on tablet. And one of the biggest things is the program that we're using is a program that you download the exam ahead of time, so you're not all getting on the Wi-Fi at the same time. And then the other computer testing that we're doing, they have to be on the Wi-Fi all at once. So that in and of itself provides a little more of a challenge. I think that this is wonderful, and you know, kids, I think what it comes down to is accountability. You know, whether they're accountable for their own device or accountable as they progress through the middle school and middle school and high school. I think this provides them that flexibility and also that accountability as far as managing their time and organizational skills. Some people still like the paper for organizational skills, and some people prefer the laptop, so or whatever device that they're choosing. So I think this is wonderful, and the kids adapt. I don't think we give our children enough credit. We're kind of archaic, where they're all over this, and they adapt quickly, and they find things fast, and I give them a lot of credit because they're all over this. So I think that this is a wonderful opportunity for our students.
Mr. Mecca?
No disrespect, I didn't mean that to be a really difficult question or anything before. And I forgot to say thank you for the nice presentation.
Mrs. Beeger?
I also want to say thank you. This presentation was very, very informative. And I just have a quick question for Mr. Matursky about the funding for Wi-Fi. I may be mistaken, but I know that there's some funding that comes from the state, and I believe it was the SMART funding that for certain things that you provide our public schools, we also have to in turn then provide that for private schools in the area. So my question is does Wi-Fi access fall under that umbrella, where if we're providing certain things for our schools in the public school district, if we also have to provide that service for private schools in our district as well?
The way the Smart Bonds legislation was written is that if you were to buy physical devices,
Yes.
such as iPads, Chromebooks,
Yes.
You would then have to provide some type of sharing with your private schools within your district boundaries. We are doing complete infrastructure, so we're not going to be, we don't have a requirement, I will say,
Okay.
to share those dollars with the private schools in our district.
Thank you for...
You're welcome.
Mrs. Van Cise?
I just have a comment. I would like to thank you. I think the overall thing that I'm taking away from this is that we've heard a lot of controversy sometimes, about the technology. Is it good? Is it not good? And there's been a lot of research out there that supports that if technology is used appropriately, it definitely serves as a beneficial instructional tool. So I'd like to commend you because I think Williamsville is doing an outstanding job. The biggest thing to really hear from this is that we have to embrace these devices as they're providing opportunities to our students. I have a 5th grader and 8th grader or a 9th grader, and it's amazing to see what they are doing, giving the choice to them. And what we're ultimately doing is providing these students to be college and career ready, which is our #1 goal. I think it's outstanding. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions? No. Thank you so much for the presentation. Thank you very much. Would someone like to move the first reading of the revised policy 5661, wellness, nutrition, and fitness? Dr. Lucido? Is there a second? Mr. LeMay? Is there any discussion?
I have one.
Yes, Mrs. Leatherbrow.
Just, I noticed in the wellness policy, it did mention recess, and part of the wording was that recess would be provided in accordance with established district expectations. And I'm just wondering if it might be possible to sort of spell out those expectations a little bit more in that policy. I know that there's other information regarding recess that parents can access. There was a presentation done that they can access, but sometimes it's nice to just have everything in one place. And so I didn't know if parts of that recess policy could then be put into the wellness policy instead of just this general statement.
Dr. Marcel?
I think, Mrs. Leatherbarrow, the question you have goes towards something that would be more part of a regulation rather than a policy, as an appropriate place for that. Our regulations, however, aren't always, reviewed by parents and community members. So what we would like to do, we've discussed as a leadership team, is to take number one, that PowerPoint, make sure it's available to all parents, and also to develop and provide a sort of a statement of the expectations regarding recess for students, parents, teachers, and staff members at our elementary schools, and make that available online as well, so you have an easy place to go and see what it is. And then if a parent has a question or a concern, or they feel like it's not being followed appropriately, they can then follow up with their child's principal to make sure that that question is addressed.
I think that sounds wonderful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Would someone like to move to table the motion for a second reading and adoption at the May 4th, 2017 special board meeting? Mr. Lemay, is there a second? Mr. Mecca? Any discussion? No. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried unanimously. Dr. Marshoff, would you like to review the code of conduct with us, please?
Yes, there are some changes in the code of conduct, and happy to address any questions. And I also want to say thank you to Dr. Sierra and her team that reviewed the code of conduct again this year, as we do every year in the late winter, early spring, and bring it forward to the board for your potential approval.
Thank you. We will now hold a public forum on the code of conduct. Would anyone in the audience like to address the board about the code of conduct? If so, please go to the podium and state your name and address. Anyone? No? Okay. Would someone like to make a motion to approve and adopt the 2017-18 budget and property tax report card as presented? Mr. Schmidt, is there a second? Dr. Lucido? Any discussion? No? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried unanimously. Dr. Marsloff, would you like to introduce the internal audits report, please?
Sure. We were going to talk about the budget before you all approved it, but you've approved it, so congratulations. Thank you at the same time. I'll turn over to Mr. Matursky and let him introduce the internal auditor, and then if it's okay, after she's completed her report, we can go back and share information in regards to the budget, if the board is okay with that.
Yes.
So, Mr. Matursky?
Thank you, Dr. Martzloff. I'd like to welcome Ms. Kathy Barrett from Freed Maxick. She is here to provide the annual internal audit update to the Board of Education.
Good evening, and thank you for your time. We're happy to say that through our efforts with the district in evaluating your internal controls and doing annual risk assessments, the district continues to improve their internal controls over their financial operations. Overall, I think we are comfortable in saying that the internal controls appear to be effective. We are always looking to expand our risk assessment services to the district to look at new and different areas. Since 2006, we've done a number of internal audits based on those risk assessments. Those audits have identified some minor weaknesses in the internal controls that the district has been very responsive to. Some of the internal audits that we've performed over the past 10 years include general ledger maintenance and budgeting, payroll processing, purchasing and disbursements, some limited internal audit procedures on information technology controls, the fuel depot, separation pay processing, school assessment, security, and most recently, fixed asset tracking and accounting. The risk assessments themselves really just scratch the surface of what the internal controls are of the district. It's really the internal audits of those very specific areas where we do a deep dive on and actually test the internal controls and make sure that they're effective. Most recently, we did the internal audit of fixed assets, and the district is responding to the minimal issues that were reported in that report. Do you have any questions regarding the risk assessment or internal audit process?
No questions.
Okay. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Marsloff.
So, onward and upward in regards to the budget, Mr. Matursky and I will present some information to the board and the community. We can take a review of what we've proposed and has been adopted as the budget for next year. First of all, looking at some of our statistics around the district, we are under 10,000 students for the first time in many, many years, with 14 schools, a 94% graduation rate. Just under 11% of our students receive special education services, 3.3% English language learners, and almost 16.5% are participating in our free and reduced meal program. What has those changes been like over the last 5 years in the district? We've had an enrollment decline of 3%. At the same time, a 36.3% increase in the number of families that qualify for free and reduced meals. That includes 435 additional families now than there were 5 years ago qualifying for that program. English language learners, we've seen a 58.5% increase in students who have English as a second language. Some of that is due to changing New York State regulations last year, and also other pieces to this is we are seeing an influx of students moving into our district from other countries. Some of our budget development goals is to support our quality educational program, stay within the tax cap, and of course prioritize instructional needs to sustain the educational program for all students. What does our budget accomplish? It maintains the current level of academic and extracurricular programming. It includes nearly $1.4 million in salary expense reductions, which we'll talk about shortly, and it adheres to the New York State tax cap of 2.67% on the tax levy. What does it accomplish as well? It also supports our Link Crew and Web program, Sources of Strength, and our elementary recess program. It funds a new summer school for high school students with special needs, a new 15-to-1 class for special education, and adds an additional assistant principal at North High School, replacing an assistant administrator who is retiring at the end of this year. And this is being accomplished through budget reallocations and reduction in BOCES services. We're also in this budget proposing that we reduce class size guidelines in third grade down from 23 to 27 students to 22 to 26 students. If you look at this chart, it shows you where we have gone over the last 3 years, where we've reduced the class size guidelines in kindergarten from 18 to 22 down to 16 to 20 students. Grade 1, 2, and now 3, those guidelines have gone down, have decreased by 1 student each. And at this time, I'll turn it over to Mr. Matursky to continue to talk about some of our expenditures. Mr. Matursky.
Thank you, Dr. Martzloff. Again, this information is a review. The employee salary amount represents the largest increase we have, almost $3.6 million. $100,000 increase in Social Security. Health insurance is up by a little over $417,000. Student services is up by $100,000, and we have a debt service increase of $100,000 in transportation or bus transportation for $200,000, which is per contract. Our total increase is $4,516,614. On the revenue side, as we all know, the state has not passed a budget yet. At this point, they have the governor has provided legislation for an extender. What the extender actually does is it allows the state to pay bills related to this current school year, but does not provide funding for school districts into the new school year. So on our revenue side, state aid represents, in this case, a decrease of a little bit under $175,000. Sales tax is up by $125,000. Other is $44,000, and the largest increase is our tax levy of $3,125,488, and that is at the tax cap amount of 2.67%. So our total increase is $3,119,604, and again, we're under the tax cap. So estimated revenues and our program continuation expenses, as you can see, result in a budget shortfall of $1,397,010, and that was we were able to remove that shortfall by having salary expense reductions that were primarily done through the recent retirements, and many of which the board saw this evening. So again, just looking at how the revenue side looks from the various major categories, you can see what the percentages are, and that is 21.8% of state aid. The next one, which is the largest, is our tax levy of 64.67%. And again, our new budget total for 17-18 would be proposed at $186,135,210. And this shows the graphical presentation where you see the large share of our property tax levy. On the expenditure side, again, major categories. You can see general support would be the administration and all items, including the facilities department and those support areas here in district office. It's about $20.5 million. Instruction, as it should be, is our largest budget item of $107,844,701, or almost 58%. And then benefits is the next largest at $37.5 million, or 20.15%. Again, the total $186,135,210. So again, on a pie chart showing it with the percentages, you can see the largest share is our instructional area, followed by benefits.
Over the last 5 years, we've seen the tax levy come in at under the tax cap each year, and this year is no different at 2.67%. As a result of a 1.7% budget-to-budget increase. The tax rate estimated right now at 1.42%. We anticipate that to decrease between now and August when we set those tax rates due to the reassessments. Speaking of the reassessments, a total assessed value increasing would decrease the school tax rate, as I mentioned, but it does not result in an increase in the amount of money the district is able to get. So the district does not get any additional revenue due to the Town of Amherst reassessment that is currently underway. The New York State tax cap law controls the increase for the actual tax levy at 2.67%. And it's important for people to note that the school district has no input into the town's reassessment program. So if you think of the reassessment program changing the amount of the slice of the pie that each of our property owners is responsible for. However, the size of the pie remains the same. So we'll just also share there was some interest at the last board meeting from some board members in regards to charter school tuition and how that impacts our school district. We're budgeted for 18 students. We currently have 15, I believe, at $11,404, and the estimated tuition going up to $12,887. Which increases this particular budget code by just over $22,000. We also have to provide buses to students to their charter schools, and a single bus cost is $46,910. There are also some questions from the board when it comes to federal grant funding. And this next couple of slides shares information on the Title I IDEA Section 611 and 619 grants and what they cover. Feel free to read that at your leisure. I'm not going to read it to you, but it gives you an idea of what's involved in all of our various grants and what they cover. It covers, for example, our UPK program. It's important to note it excludes the New York State Teacher Center grant amount of $41,051. And these 16-17 budget amounts are from the State Education Department's grant finance department. They were taken straight from there, so we could share them with you, a little over $4.1 million. And you can see each of these areas tends to impact our most vulnerable learners, whether they're students who have English as a second language, special education students, or our universal pre-K students. So to summarize, our total estimated 17-18 budget is $186,135,210. Budget to budget increase of 1.7%. A proposed tax levy increase of 2.67%, which is under the New York State tax cap, and an estimated tax increase that is projected to decrease further at 1.42%, which 1.42% as a tax rate increase has been our average over the last 5 years. What happens with a contingent budget? Under state law, school boards can submit a budget to voters a maximum of 2 times. If the proposed budget is defeated twice, we must adopt a contingent budget with a 0% tax levy increase. That number would be $183,015,606, which would require a reduction in the budget of $3,119,604, which would impact a great many things in our school district in a negative way. So your vote counts. Our annual district vote and school board election on the ballot. Proposal number 1 will be our budget, and number 2 will be to vote for 3 school board members. It's your schools and your voice, so we encourage all of our residents to come out 7 a.m. to 9 p.m. on Tuesday, May 16th at the North High School gym. Be happy to take any questions from the board at this time.
No questions. Thank you, Dr. Marcel.
You're welcome, and thank you to the board for your support throughout the process. It was very inclusive, involved opportunities for our community to comment and provide input on the budget, and I think we have a conservative spending plan that will maintain our program for students, so thank you.
Thank you, and thank you, Mr. Matursky. Does anyone have any liaison or conference report? If you do have a liaison or conference report, please pass them over to Mrs. Serafin. Does anyone need any coverage for an upcoming meeting? No? Okay. Are there any legislative matters that anyone would like to discuss? No? There are no curriculum matters to discuss. There are no personnel matters to discuss. Facilities improvement, Dr. Marcel, would you like to give us an update on the facilities and preservation plan, please?
Just a quick update on our facilities improvement and enhancement programs going on throughout the district, particularly at East and South High School. I visited both of those sites yesterday, and was able to share out some information via Twitter in regards to the construction going on at East. And it's projected that both of our sites will be ready and complete in September, with the exception of possibly the track at South High School, which we may need to wait and finish in the spring of 2018. So we're pleased with the progress. As you know from past board meetings, we did run into some rock at South High School. We've resolved most of that, and we do have some unsuitable soil materials that need to be addressed. But other than that, we're completing our work on schedule and excited to finish in September.
Thank you, Dr. Marsloff. Would someone like to make a motion to resolve and approve the YMCA Summer Camp Lease Agreement as presented? Mr. Schmidt? A second? Mrs. Van Cise? Any discussion? No? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried unanimously. Would someone like to make a motion to resolve to approve the before and after school daycare program provided as presented?
For which provider?
It
It's just for kids.
doesn't say, but it must be just for kids.
Just for kids?
It's in the report.
Mr. Mecca, is there a second? Mr. Schubert? Any discussion? Yes, Mr. Schmidt.
Yeah, I just want to share that I will be abstaining on this vote just because my family currently utilizes this service and I do pay a monthly fee for it. So probably is not a conflict of interest, but I don't feel comfortable voting just because I am utilizing them. I just want to comment that the revenue over the 5-year projection to the district is supposed to increase $5,000, which is great. I think it is a wonderful thing. Any way we can find a way to generate more money to our school programs is wonderful. My only concern is, as my wife and I both work, and a lot of the families that utilize this program both work, is that if the district is getting more money, these are the families that, in my opinion, are the most vulnerable or are the most need of this program because of the convenience and the location. And I understand cost increases of programs. I just hope truly that all the costs are passed on to the program, to the parents in a tuition increase, just because, again, these are the parents that need the program the most. I know it's not a non-for-profit. I get that. I just hope there is some protection built in to the parents, that it's not a true offset on increases. That's my only comment or concern on the program. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? No? Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, motion carried 8-0-1, one abstention. Thank you. Dr. Marshoff, would you like to give us an update on the school bus monitor pilot program, please?
Yes, there's some information in your packet about this. Mr. Matursky was able to work with the elementary principals and also with our Director of Transportation to come up with some data on what's taken place as far as discipline incidents. Really, in our estimation, isn't enough time to really come up with anything that could be seen as meaningful in terms of a decrease in disciplinary issues on the school bus. But we did want to update the board that there has been a small decrease in the number of disciplinary referrals on those buses that had monitors on them.
Thank you. Would someone like to make a motion to resolve to change order for the South High Athletic Field as presented? To the change order, yes. Dr. Lucido, a second, please. Mr. Schubert, any discussion? Yes, Mr. LeMay.
A question. There was a comment made, I believe, somewhere in the board packet that the prior resolution for removal of the rock was, we weren't going to need the full funding on that. And I know this resolution is, I'm looking at over here, up to $300,000. Do we know roughly what that offset is going to be? How much isn't going to be used in the previous resolution and versus how much could be applied towards this one?
Mr. Matursky, do you have those numbers for Mr. Lemay?
We're looking at probably $160,000 of savings. So the resolution was up to 300. We expect the final cost to be somewhere around 139,000.
Okay.
And we will also very carefully watch what is being done with this soil replacement.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Matursky. Any other discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried unanimously. There are no special needs and student activities matters to discuss. Does anyone have a request or matter to discuss under Committee of the Whole? Mr. Schmidt.
Sure, it's just a general question, actually. One of the speakers spoke about an RFP for athletic trainers. Is there a reason we aren't doing an RFP for that? I'm very pro RFP, so I'm just curious. Or is this a topic for next month, or I just kind of curious.
Dr. Marcel?
I can address that. We're very satisfied with our current provider, which is Excelsior. They provide trainers for all 3 of our high schools. A couple of things about this is we only did a 1-year extension with Excelsior, and we do intend to put out an RFP next winter, most likely December, January timeframe, to allow all everyone who wants to bid on it to do so. The other concern I would have, and I'm sure this would be addressed in any response to an RFP, is if you go to full-time trainers and you're relying on a grant, typically those grants are 3 years. What happens at the end of the 3 years? What's the plan to cover the costs? Because people will get used to having a full-time athletic trainer at each high school, and we'll get used to, as a school district, having it offset from a grant, and then the grant's going to disappear, and we're going to see a large increase in costs. So that's something that would need to definitely be addressed if we do an RFP, and if Dr. Feinberg's group does respond to it. So those are just some of the aspects of what's happening there.
Sure. I mean, whether we use that is irrelevant. I just would encourage us to do an RFP regardless, if it's full-time, part-time. Just it's always good to renew it every few years.
We will do one next year for sure. We're planning that right now.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Lemay?
Follow up with that. When you respond to that gentleman, can you make sure you make a note of that in his letter?
We've already responded to him.
Okay.
Yes.
Any other matters under Committee of the Whole? No? Okay. Is there any correspondence to discuss? No. Would someone like to make a motion to adjourn the regular board meeting? Mr. Lemay, second. Mrs. Van Cise, all in favor? Opposed? Abstentions? Motion carried unanimously. Good night. Thank you.